Let me tell you about Porky. Because my girls keep asking, what was your actual nah, I'm done moment? And honestly, this one right here might be top 3. So I match with this guy, right? On the surface, he seems fine. That's the worst part. Not amazing, not a walking disaster, just fine. He's got a job, can actually string sentences together, doesn't open with WID at 1 a.m. I'm thinking low bar, but at least we're stepping over it. We decide to go to dinner. Cute little restaurant, candlelight situation, cloth napkins. You know, the kind of place where you sit up straighter because the forks are shiny. I show up, hair done, makeup done, outfit coordinating with my mood. I'm feeling myself a little, not gonna lie. He gets there, gives me a hug, normal hello, and we sit down. So far, nothing insane. We're looking at the menus, making small talk. He's like, oh, you're not one of those girls that just orders salad, right? Already a yellow flag, because why are we policing what I eat before I even choose? But I laugh it off. I'm like, no, I eat real food. Don't worry about me. The waiter comes, I order my meal, he orders his all good. We're chatting, and there's that tiny awkward first date energy, but whatever. I can work with that. And then he says it. Without warning, without any warm-up, he goes, yeah, I like a girl who isn't afraid to eat. I don't like them tiny little girls. I'm into thick girls. You're like a little Porky. I blink. I'm thinking I misheard him. The restaurant is not that loud, but maybe my brain is protecting me. So I say, what? He smiles. You know, Porky. Like, you like food. In a good way. Now listen. There is no universe, no timeline, no multiverse where calling a woman Porky is in a good way. None. I straighten up a little and say, that's not funny. He laughs like I just told him a joke. Nah, it's like a nickname. I'm just teasing. I should have left then. But you know how women are trained to be polite, even when we're uncomfortable? Yeah, that conditioning be strong. So I try to steer the conversation away. We talk about work, hobbies, whatever. I'm mid-sentence explaining something I'm passionate about, and the food arrives. Cool. Plate looks nice. I pick up my fork to start eating. Then this man decides we are suddenly in some kind of weird romantic movie montage. He loads up his fork with food from his plate, leans across the table, and brings it right in front of my mouth. Like inches away. I pull back. I'm good, thanks. I can feed myself. He laughs, pulls his hand back for about 3 seconds. Then he does it again. Fork. In my face. Now I'm literally having to tilt my head away like I'm dodging a punch. I swat his hand lightly, trying to keep it cute. Seriously, I don't like that. You'd think he'd stop after the second no, right? No. This man tries 4 times. 4 separate feeding attempts. Each time he gets progressively closer to my nose like he's testing my reflexes. I'm out here bobbing and weaving like it's a boxing match. And all through this, he keeps dropping that stupid nickname. So, Porky, what do you like to do for fun? You're not full yet, are you, Porky? You look like you can eat, Porky. Every time I correct him, stop calling me that, he acts like I'm uptight. Then he leans back in his chair, gets this smug little smirk on his face and says, you know, every woman I date wants to be exclusive by the second date. I literally pause mid-chew. I look at him like, I'm sorry, is that supposed to impress me or warn me? He keeps going. Yeah, they always get attached so quick. I don't know what it is. Must be my problem. Spoiler, it's not a problem, it's a personality. I swallow my food and say, very calmly, that won't be me. He laughs. Oh, you don't care about commitment? You're probably my favorite type of girl then. I'm like, no, I just don't think I'm ever going to see you again. I'd be shocked if we even go on a second date. And I said it completely deadpan. No smile. No giggle. Just facts. He laughs again like I'm joking. That's my favorite part, when you clearly warn a man you're done, and he thinks you're being cute. Throughout dinner, he keeps monologuing about how many women are into him. Oh yeah, there was this girl, she was so obsessed with me, but she was too young. This other girl wanted me to move in with her after like a month. I have so many options, it's hard to choose. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there like, brother, your option is me finishing this meal and we part ways forever. As if all of that wasn't enough, here's the kicker, and this is how bad his behavior was. This detail became an afterthought to me. He lied about his age. He told me he was 39. Cool, whatever. Grown. Age-appropriate-ish. No problem. Later on, I Google him and find out he is not 39. He is 48. 48. He shaved 9 years off his age and thought he could just charisma his way through it. And the wild thing? By the time I found out, I barely even cared. That's how messy the rest of the date was. The age lie was like the garnish on a plate of disrespect. You know it's bad when you lied about being almost a decade older than you said. Doesn't even crack the top 3 red flags. Top 3 were calling me Porky like I'm a cartoon pig, forcing food in my face like I'm a toddler, bragging that women always want to lock him down while ignoring every boundary I set. So did I walk out? No. I finished my dinner. Because if I've already wasted my time and my makeup, at least I'm not wasting the food. The check comes. I'm ready to split and sprint. He pays, still talking about himself. We walk outside, and I give him the kind of hug you give a distant cousin at a funeral. He's like, we should definitely do this again. I just smile politely and say, we'll see. Translation, we will not see. On the way home, I'm in the Uber like, if these are the options, I would rather be single, thanks. And that's really the moral here. If a man tries to give you a farm animal nickname and treat you like you should be grateful for attention, the only thing you need to be hungry for is self-respect. Finish your food if it's good. Then, in your head, say the words, "This is my first and last date with you, sir. And never, ever, ever go back." My girl comes over the other night looking like somebody just told her Santa isn't real. Makeup still on, shoes in her hand, that defeated, I just wasted an outfit walk. You know that walk? She drops on my couch and goes, I'm done. I'm actually done with men. And I'm like, okay babe, what happened? Who we dragging today? So she tells me she went on this cute little dinner date. New guy seemed normal, held a conversation, didn't chew with his mouth open, bare minimum stuff, right? They're at the table, menus down, drinks in hand, it's all fine. Then this man, this grown adult man, reaches into his wallet. I'm thinking, he's about to pay early, maybe he's one of the good ones. No. He pulls out 2 printed photos. Not on his phone, not on Instagram. Actual physical, 4x6 glossy prints like we're in 1998. He slides them across the table like he's presenting evidence in a court case and goes, so this is my ex from a few years ago, and this is my most recent ex. Where do you think you rank next to them? Excuse me? She said she just stared at the photos, then stared at him, like she was waiting for Ashton Kutcher to pop out and say, "You've been punked." But no, he was dead serious. Sitting there, chin in hand, waiting for her to give herself a placement. Like it's some kind of audition. First place, second place, consolation prize. She goes, "What do you mean rank?" And he says, like looks-wise. Personality. Where do you think you fall between them? At this point I'm screaming internally, because sir, are you insane or just unemployed with hobbies? So now she's sitting there, heart sinking, because you know when you realize mid-date, oh, I am actually on a podcast topic right now. This man is content, not a partner. She tells him, I'm not ranking myself. That's weird. And this man, instead of being embarrassed, starts explaining like it's logical. I just like to know where women see themselves. It tells me about their confidence. No, it tells me about your therapy bill. She finishes telling me this story and she's all upset like, maybe I should have said something slick, maybe I didn't handle it right. And I'm like, girl, you handled it perfectly by not becoming the 3rd photo. I told her straight, you should have looked him dead in the eye and said, I outrank both of them because I'm not dumb enough to become an ex. I'm not even applying for that position. Like, sir, I'm not in your little Hunger Games of delusion. May the odds be never in your favor. And to make her feel better, I'm like, listen, we've all had our nope, I'm out moment. Let me tell you mine. So once upon a time, back when I still believed in potential and second chances, I went on a date with this guy. We'd been chatting, vibes were okay, nothing spectacular, but he seemed nice enough. Early in conversation he tells me, I have 1 child. Now for me personally, kids are a big thing. Not a villain origin story, but that's a deal breaker I need to think about. 1 kid, I'm like, okay, we'll see how this goes. I'm not promising anything, but I'm not sprinting for the exit either. We get to dinner. We're talking, eating, it's alright. Then he does that thing where men wait until you've already invested your time and your lashes and your gas money, and then the truth starts leaking out. He goes so casual, yeah, with my 3 kids it's hard sometimes, you know. I put my fork down. I said, 3 what? He goes, 3 kids. I said, I thought you said you had 1 child. He goes, yeah, I say 1. Sir. What? I'm sitting there trying to reboot like a frozen laptop. Why would you say you have 1 child when you have 3? And this man looks me in the face and goes, well, technically it doesn't count. I said, I'm sorry, what doesn't count? Because last I checked, children are pretty countable. He waves his hand like he's explaining parking tickets. Well, the other two are with their mom, and she's a bitch. So I don't claim that situation like that. I just say I got one. I just stared at him. I said, those are still your kids. That's not a gym membership. You don't just cancel the subscription and pretend it didn't exist. He doubles down. Yeah, but like it's different. It doesn't really count. I don't see them like that, so I just say one. Less drama. I said, what kind of man math is this? Because I know we joke about girl math and boy math, but this is advanced calculus. This is I failed basic responsibility math. So now my interest level has gone from a shaky 6 to a solid -4. I ask the final question that seals it. Who has custody of all 3 kids? He goes, oh, they're baby mamas. Plural. Plural, Your Honor. They're with their baby mamas. And he said it like it's the most normal sentence in the world. Like obviously. Why would he have his own children? That would be outrageous. I just sat there, taking tiny bites of food while my brain packed its bags. Internally I'm like, okay, so you lied by subtraction, you talk about the mothers of your children with zero respect, and you think kids only count when they're convenient for your image. That was my no, I'm out moment right there. Bullet. Dodged. So when my friend is on my couch, spiraling about ex-photo guy, I told her, listen, none of this is about you. These men were weird before you got there. You just walked in on the episode. And that's really the moral of my little story. If a man ever asks you to rank yourself against his exes, or starts doing algebra with his children, you don't argue, you don't negotiate, you don't tutor him in basic ethics. You simply close the menu, finish your drink if it's good, and say, check please, I'm out. So my girl is on Hinge, right? She's not even seriously dating. She's in that, if it happens, soft life energy. She matches with this guy who's actually normal. No gym mirror bathroom selfie, no sunglasses hiding tax fraud eyes, no 6 feet 2 inches because it apparently matters face with rolling eyes in the bio. Just a clean-cut guy who looks like he reads captions on Instagram and eats vegetables. They talk for a few days and it's giving healthy. Like he's asking real questions, responding in paragraphs, adding punctuation. The bar is underground, but we celebrate anyway. He asks for her Instagram politely, not drop URIG, but can I add you on Instagram? With full respect. Fine. Now here's where he really leaned into the illusion. He plans a date. Not a, we should hang sometime date. Not a pull up to my friend's kickback date. A real date. A wine bar. On King Street. At 8 p.m. on a Friday. That's a prime time, adult, intentional date slot. And to prove it, he sends her a screenshot of the reservation. Name on it. Time. Table number. Confirmation code. It looked like something out of Open Table's promotional ads. I swear the screenshot had main character energy. My girl sends it to me like, OMG, look at this, he actually planned something. And I'm like, no way. A man planning? In advance? Are we in a simulation reboot? She's getting excited. She's doing the pre-date rituals, shaving things nobody's going to see, deep conditioning her hair like she's meeting Michelle Obama, exfoliating her soul. The whole preparation montage. Then 2 days before the date, he messages her. He says, and this is verbatim, hey, I'm so sorry, I just got pulled into a client dinner. I can't make Friday anymore. She sends me a screenshot. I read it and go, convenient. But okay, adults have jobs. Dinners happen. Life be lifing. She responds gracefully. No worries at all. We can do it another time. And he goes, absolutely. I'll reschedule. I'll make a new reservation for next week. She's like, great. I'm like, okay, maybe he's actually decent. And then, nothing. Not, let me check my schedule. Not, how about Thursday? Not, work is crazy, I'll reach out soon. Nope. He just ghosts. Full Casper. Into the abyss. Meanwhile, he is active online. Posting gym selfies. Posting that one Drake lyric that all Toronto men use when they want to feel deep. Posting his iced coffee. Posting his shoes. Posting the skyline. Living his best digital life. But apparently cannot physically type. Hey, I changed my mind. 2 weeks pass. Then 3. She's not texting him. She's not begging for an explanation. But she's watching the silence happen in real time, like a nature documentary. And here's the kicker. This man has the nerve to watch her stories. Not like. Not comment. Not react. Not say a word. Just watch. A man will ghost you but still haunt your Instagram like he's checking on his Airbnb investment. Like, sir, what are you looking for? Updates? Weather patterns? Confirmation you still exist in the world he abandoned? She starts doing that thing we all do, replaying the date that never was in her mind like, did I miss something? Did I say something wrong? Did a glitch in the matrix delete his ability to follow through? And I told her straight, no babe, he didn't want you, he wanted the idea of you. Some men love performing effort. They love the aesthetic of planning. They love the ego boost of a woman excited to see them. They love feeling like they're good guys, without actually being good guys. He booked that wine bar to make himself feel like a boyfriend without doing any of the real emotional labor. The reservation wasn't for her, it was for his ego. That's why he could plan it. That's why he could screenshot it. That's why he could talk like a grown man with intentions. But the moment it required consistency, poof. Because consistency is something you do for other people. Pretend effort is something you do for yourself. He wanted the dopamine of look at me being intentional, but had zero interest in the responsibility of showing up. Her no, I'm out moment wasn't fireworks and drama. It was the quiet realization that this man's word was worth less than his screenshot. Screenshots mean nothing. You can fake a reservation. You can fake enthusiasm. You can fake romance. You cannot fake consistency. So now whenever she sees a man put too much effort into aesthetics, the perfect message, the perfect date idea, the perfect first impression, she watches actions instead. A man can plan a date. A man can cancel a date. But only a grown adult can reschedule a date. First date with this dude? It was fine. Like aggressively medium. Not terrible, not amazing. We met for drinks after work in the city. He was decently cute, had a job, could hold a conversation without saying facts after every sentence. We talked about movies, siblings, random stuff. At the end, he's like, so, you want to come back to my place? Sir. First date. I hit him with a polite smile, turned my cheek when he went in for a kiss. He got cheek, not lips. I was like, I gotta get up early tomorrow, but thank you, I had a nice time. Cool. Night over. Couple days later, he texts me, hey, I had fun. Want to do something this weekend? There's this arcade bar in Brooklyn, it's super fun. And I'm sitting there like, okay, first date wasn't tragic, and an arcade bar sounds cute. Games, drinks, low pressure? Bet. I say yes. So I pull up Saturday night. I'm in jeans, a fitted tee, sneakers, cute but comfy. Hair done, little gloss, nothing crazy. I walk in, and he's already there, waving like a golden retriever. Music's playing, neon lights everywhere, people screaming over air hockey and Mortal Kombat. It's a vibe. He gives me a hug, buys the first round of drinks, and I'm like, okay, maybe this'll be fun. We start with air hockey. I'm thinking this is perfect, no weird silence, just trash talk and vibes. We're playing, laughing. The little puck is flying all over the table. I actually beat him the first game, and he's like, oh, okay, so you're competitive. I'm like, yeah, don't play with me, I came to win. All jokes, lighthearted. So far, so good. We move around, some pinball, some shooting game, him getting way too serious about high scores, but whatever. I'm sipping my drink, feeling relaxed, thinking maybe he's just a nerd in a good way. Then we go back over to where the air hockey table is, and the game finishes. Before I can even step back, this man steps into my space, full chest, arms out, and bear hugs me. Now, I'm not anti-hug, okay? But this wasn't a soft hug. This was a WWE grip. My arms are pinned to my sides, my drink almost spills, and I'm like, oh, okay, hello? Then, out of nowhere, he goes for a kiss. No, not a lean in, see if she's into it kiss. I mean, he just plants one on my mouth like we're in some off-brand rom-com, and I missed the script. My brain is like, sir, I did not order this scene. But I'm caught off guard, so I kind of freeze, pull back, do the awkward little chuckle like, haha, okay, that was sudden. He grins like he did something smooth. I'm trying to give the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he's just awkward. Maybe he thought it was cute. I'm side-eyeing, but I don't bounce yet. I should have, pero no, I stayed. We grab more tokens and stumble on giant Connect 4. I love Connect 4. I'm like, bet, finally a game where I can talk and play. First round, we're dropping pieces. I'm telling him about my week. Work drama, my Tia calling me 5 times a day, little stuff. I'm mid-story and he wins that round. Cool. I'm like, okay, rematch. Best 2 out of 3. We reset the board. I start talking again, asking how his week was, what he's been up to, all that. Halfway through the game, He stops, looks at the board, looks at me and goes, "For this one, can you not talk?" I blink. "What?" He smiles like he's being helpful. "Yeah, just don't talk this round. You play better when you're quiet. You really messed up once you started talking." "Excuse me?" My brain did that Windows error sound. I stare at him like, "Tuiris Brito okay?" Because the math is not matang. I say, "So would you rather see me win than hear my story?" He laughs like I'm the silly one. No, I just want you to be more competitive. It's more fun for me if you're really trying, Just stay quiet this one, focus. Now I should have said, "I'm going home." But I was so stunned I kind of went, "Okay," just to see where he was going with this. So there I am, standing in front of this giant Connect 4, lights flashing, music playing, and I'm silent. Dropping chips. Meanwhile, in my head I'm like, is this real? Am I being pranked? Where's the camera? Of course, he wins again. He looks at me all excited, like he solved world peace. "See," he says, "you played so much better when you were quiet. That was way better." I just smile tight and go, "Yeah, totally. Best part of a date is when the girl doesn't talk, right?" He actually goes, I don't know about that. That's not exactly what he just implied." From that point, I'm mentally done. I'm like, all right, I'm just writing this out until I can leave without starting a public argument. We walk out of the arcade and he's like, "Wanna go for a walk?" I'm thinking, public, well lit, more exits. Fine. So we walk. I try to talk about something light like music, food, whatever, and every time I open my mouth, this man interrupts me. Not once. Not twice. Every single time. I'd be like, "Yeah, so at work." He'd cut in, Yeah, speaking of work, my boss," and go off on a tangent about himself. I start another sentence. He steamrolls it. At one point, I literally stop talking mid-word just to see if he notices. He does not. My man is on a podcast where only he has a mic. And then, the kissing starts again. We're walking, I turn my head away when he leans in, and he does this thing where he grabs my face. Like full hand on my jaw, fingers on my cheek, turning my head back toward him so he can kiss me. Twice. I try to lean back, but he laughs like I'm being shy. Meanwhile, my whole body is saying, "No gracias." Then we just happen to be near his car, and he's like, "Come on, let's go back to my place. I'll give you a ride home after." I go, "No, I'm good. I've got stuff to do." He looks genuinely confused. "What? You got some kind of rule or something? Like you don't go back to a guy's place on the first or second date?" I'm like, "Yeah, something like that." He starts pressing. "So what's the rule then? How many dates? 3? 4? How long is it gonna be? What do I gotta do? What's the number?" At this point, I'm actually disgusted. I'm like, "I don't know. It's not about a number. I'm just not coming over." He keeps trying to hug me, getting in my space, angling for another kiss. I'm stiff as a statue, already pulling my phone out like, "Okay, well, I'm gonna head out. I've got an early morning." Finally, I step away. "All right, I'm gonna go." So let me tell you why I am done auditioning for the role of someone's girlfriend. Completely retired. Collecting my pension. Because this date? This was psychological cardio. It starts simple. Dude asks me out. Nice enough online. A little awkward, a little boy next door who never left his town, energy, but nothing alarming. I say okay. He picks me up. I get in the car, and instantly my body is like, turn around. Abort mission. But I ignore it, because I'm trying to be mature or whatever. He's barely talking, and not in the shy way. In the something is malfunctioning way. I'd ask him simple questions. How's your week? What music do you like? How was work? And every answer he gives me is off. Like if I said, I love dogs, he'd reply, yeah, I hope they never catch me. Just unhinged, unrelated, unsettling comments. Not funny enough to laugh at, not normal enough to ignore. I'm staring out the window like, God, if this is a test, I'm failing. So I'm like, hey, can I play music? He hands me his phone. Big mistake on his part. Because when I open his Apple Music, every single playlist has my name on it. My full name. And every cover photo, a picture of me, screenshotted from my socials. We've met one time prior. Sir, I'm trying not to scream. I put the phone down like it's a bomb. I'm quiet. Maybe you won't bring it up. Nope. He says, and I quote, did you see my playlists? They're all for you. All of them. Romantic playlist? My face. Gym playlist? My face. Sleepy vibes? My face like I'm a melatonin gummy. I laugh nervously, because if I don't laugh, I'm either jumping out of the moving car or filing a restraining order on the spot. He drives us to go-kart racing. Cute idea, right? Except they're closed. So now I'm trapped in a parking lot with this man who hasn't said 5 normal sentences, but has 37 playlists dedicated to me. We sit in silence for 30 minutes. He's just staring straight ahead. I'm on my phone because I need something to tether me to reality. And he's like, "Who are you texting?" "Excuse me?" I deadpan, "People." He goes, "Why?" "Well, I don't know, maybe because the walls of this unheated Honda Civic feel like they're closing in, Alexa." I don't answer. He sulks. Full-grown man sulk. Finally the place opens. We get inside. He still doesn't talk. I'm making jokes, doing little comments, trying to lighten the mood. Nothing. He's a brick wall with hormones. Then he decides he's hungry. We go to Taco Bell. I'm not mad, I love a crunch wrap. But he orders messy food while wearing a white hoodie. Recipe for disaster. And disaster arrives immediately. First bite? Mild sauce all down his front. He throws a tantrum. Full toddler-level meltdown. Slams the car door. Storms into the bathroom. Leaves me sitting in the passenger seat like a single mother. 15 minutes later he returns with a wet, streaky stain. I'm trying to be kind like, "It's okay, it'll dry." He snaps, "No it won't. It's ruined." "Sir, it is literally Taco Bell sauce, not a fatal wound." Then he remembers he might have a jacket in the trunk. He gets out, rummages, puts on this random winter coat in 80-degree heat, and gets back in. He drops his elbow in my nacho cheese. I gently tell him. He reacts like I said his grandma insulted my bloodline. Back into the restaurant he goes, leaving me again, while he tries to scrub cheese off his sleeve. By the time he comes back the second time, I've already finished my food, contemplated my entire romantic past, and accepted that God is testing me. Then he goes, "Now I'm taking you to Six Flags." I blink. "What?" He says it like it's a reward. Like this is Disneyland and not a hostage transport. We get to the parking lot. It's $30 to park. He pays and then complains. "I can't believe I just paid that." "You chose this activity, sir." "Not me." Inside the park, we get in line for the first ride. Guess who ends up directly behind us in line? 3 kids from my school. 3. Of all people in the world, these 3. I whisper to him, "Don't turn around." He immediately tries to turn around. Then he says, "I'm going to stare at them until they get uncomfortable." "No? No, you are not." I'm practically grabbing his arm like, "Please, for the love of social survival, behave." He doesn't listen. He keeps inching closer to me in line. And listen, I try to subtly move away, but he keeps following like a heat-seeking missile. I turn slightly. He tries to hold my hand. I put my hands in my pockets. He tries to put his arm around me. I lean forward like I'm hiding from paparazzi. He does not notice or he does not care. Either option is terrifying. Finally, we get on a ride. I sit with my back pressed against the seat, so his arm can't go behind me. He still tries. Actually breaks through behind my back like he's cracking a safe. His arm slides around me. He sees my horrified face. And then he asks, "Is it okay if I put my arm around you?" "Sir, it is already there. Damage is done." We get off and at this point I am spiritually, emotionally, physically done. I'm tired. "Can we head home?" He goes, "Well, I had a whole dinner planned. With your favorite food." I say, "What food?" He says, "Chicken Alfredo." "Your sister told me it's your favorite." "It's not." "Yes, it is." "It's not." He pulls out proof, messages from my sister saying I like Alfredo. Not that it's my life's passion. We argue like we're on Judge Judy. I'm like, "Please just take me home." He says, "My buddy won't be home until 9, so I'd be alone if we left now." "Not my problem, babes." I insist. He finally drives me home. But wait. When we get to my driveway, he demands to walk me to my front door. I refuse. So he stops by my window instead. Gives me this long, creepy hug where he does not let go. I am stiff as a corpse. He tries to kiss me. I duck. He grabs my face. I say nope, sprint inside. I think it's over. It is not. He starts shouting my name from outside. "Jadad, come back." Texting me. Calling me. "Can I kiss you before I leave?" I deserve a goodbye kiss. Why are you being weird? Don't ghost me. Baby, the ghosting already started when I closed the car door. So I meet this guy, right? Cool enough. We're going on these little weekday dates, Nothing crazy, after work dinners, Starbucks runs, that type of thing. It's very medium. Not terrible, not fireworks, just we're getting to know each other. But from early on, his communication is spotty. Like, we'll text all day Monday, then he disappears Tuesday, and Wednesday like his phone only gets service on odd-numbered days. It gets so inconsistent that I finally bring it up. I'm like, hey, real talk, what are your intentions here? Because this on and off texting isn't giving what it needs to give. And of course, he hits me with the standard script. No, I really like you. I'm just bad at texting. Life's hectic. I'm trying to be intentional. I'm serious about getting to know you. Cool. I side-eye it, but I choose to watch his actions instead of his paragraphs. We keep seeing each other, nothing official, but it's moving. Then one weekend, we have a date planned. Locked in. He picked the place, the time, everything. I've already run a flat iron through my hair, picked an outfit, mentally committed my evening. A couple of hours before I'm supposed to leave, my phone buzzes. Hey, I'm so sorry. Something came up. My friend really needs my help. I'm like, oh, everything okay? And this is where the character development starts. He goes, she's going through something really heavy right now. I don't want to tell her business, but she's got kids, her husband's out of the country, and she has nobody else to help. I need to be there. So now I'm imagining the worst, miscarriage, medical emergency, something tragic. And I get it, I'm not a monster. I tell him, okay, I hope she's all right. Handle what you've got to handle. We can reschedule. He thanks me for understanding, says I'm so mature about it, and then he's gone for the night. Cool. Weird but fine. I let it slide. Emergency is emergency. Next week comes. Our texting is still giving tumbleweed. Slow replies. Random good mornings. Then radio silence. But again, we set another plan for the weekend. I'm not fully invested, but I'm open. Saturday rolls around. Guess who messages me again? Hey, I'm really sorry. I have to go back over to my friend's place. The situation is still really bad. She needs help with the kids. Her husband's still out of the country. I literally stop mid-scroll like, wait. This emergency is on a weekly subscription now. He adds, I'll probably have to stay the night. The kids exhaust me, but she can't do this alone. That's when my stomach did that heavy drop. Not jealousy, but that something is off feeling. Because, sir, why are you staying the night at another woman's house? Why are you in full-time stepdaddy mode for a family that isn't yours? And why am I finding out last minute again? So I text him, is this the same friend from last weekend? He says, yeah. And her husband is still out of the country? Yeah, he's supposed to come back Monday or Tuesday. Supposed. That word right there took me out, because how is her husband permanently supposed to be coming back but never home when you're there, sir? Then he calls me. He's whispering like he's in a Lifetime movie. Telling me she lost something she was expecting, how emotional it is, how he feels bad for her, but he doesn't want to tell her private business. So I'm filling in the blanks. Sounds like pregnancy issues, maybe financial loss, something serious. I actually feel bad for the woman. But at the same time I'm thinking, why is this your job? You're not her husband. You're not her brother. You're not her pastor. You are her what, exactly? I ignore my gut for about 5 minutes. Then my gut taps me on the shoulder like, nah baby, we need to talk. So I sit with it and finally decide, I'm not doing the confused but quiet thing. I text him 3 questions. No fluff. No emojis. Just vibes. Were you ever in a relationship or intimate with this woman? Is she married or in a relationship right now? Are those kids yours? His reply comes fast, and he only answers the one he's offended by. I already told you I don't have kids. I don't know why you keep asking me that. Oh, so that's the button, huh? I ask again, slowly this time. Have you ever been in a relationship with her? He finally admits it. Well, yeah. 12 years ago we dated. But that was a lifetime ago. We're just friends now. Just friends. Now, you mean to tell me this is not some random friend? This is your ex with kids, whose husband is perpetually out of the country, and you're sleeping over at her house like a live-in manny? Point number 2. Is she married? He says, yeah, but it's complicated. They've got issues. I'm just helping. Oh, okay. So you're a part-time handyman, full-time emotional affair. Got it. At this point, I ask him again about the kids. Are they yours? He gets defensive. The texts get longer, more chaotic. I told you already, they're not my kids. I don't know why you're interrogating me. Why does it matter if I'm just helping? Because you canceled 2 dates to sleep at your ex's house. That's why it matters. So I step back from the drama for a minute and really think. I don't even like you enough to be tangled in baby mama adjacent storylines. What am I doing? And that's when I realize our definitions of boundaries are on two completely different planets. Me? If I had an ex with kids and a complicated marriage, I wouldn't be sleeping over there, playing stand-in parent, and hiding details from the person I'm currently dating. That's out-of-line behavior. Him? He thinks this is normal. He thinks I'm overreacting. He thinks asking basic questions is me being immature. So I send my final message. And I keep it simple. Look, I'm not comfortable with this situation. I don't have the emotional capacity for whatever is going on between you and this woman. Your boundaries and my boundaries are not the same, and that's okay, but it means this won't work for me. I wish you the best, but I'm done here. You know what he replies? Not, wait, let me explain. Not, I understand, but this is what's really happening. Not a call, not a voice note. Just, okay, cool, totally understand. I wish you the best too. The speed and calmness of that reply told me everything I needed to know. A man who is actually misunderstood will try to clarify. A man who actually values you will at least attempt a conversation. A man who knows he's been running game. He will let you go quietly. And that's when it clicked. He knew exactly what he was doing the whole time. I wasn't blowing anything out of proportion. I just finally chose not to play along. So I removed myself, blocked the number, deleted the thread, prayed for my own peace and not his clarity. Because if you have to guess whether you're dating a man or his cover story, you're already third in line. So I'm on Hinge, right? Not hunting for a husband, just vibing. Swiping here and there, laughing at prompts, dodging men whose whole personality is gym and 6 feet 1 inch if that matters. Then I match with this guy. Tall, cute enough. His prompts are actually funny, not just I'll fall for you if you trip me humor, like actual personality. He seems smart, kinda nerdy, kind of self-aware. I'm thinking, alright, potential. We chat for about 2 weeks. Solid back and forth. No dry single-word answers. He can spell. He knows the difference between your and your. We're talking about books, cities we want to visit, favorite foods. He works in Jersey but comes into the city sometimes. Fine. Eventually he's like, we should grab drinks next week. I say, yeah, that could be fun. He goes, what kind of spots do you like? Now I'm thoughtful, I'm considerate. I send him a list of bar options in Manhattan. Like 5 places. Including a couple cute dive bars. A cheaper spot near Port Authority, so it's easy for him coming from Jersey. And then Albert's Bar, which is definitely on the nicer end, but still not like crazy. Just, you dress a little better. It's a real date vibe. I'm secretly thinking he'll pick something low-key near the bus, so he doesn't have to trek too far. You know, logical choices. This man texts back. Albert's Bar looks great. Let's do that. I go, oh, okay, fancy. Great. I adjust my expectations. We're going formalish. Day of the date comes. I actually put effort in. I pick out a cute top, good jeans, boots. Beat my face. My hair is doing what it's supposed to do. I look like after-work cocktail, not grab a slice and go. You know, I show up to Albert's. It's one of those nice midtown bars with low lighting, slightly overpriced drinks, and the kind of bartenders that judge your order, but in a chic way. I'm a few minutes early, so I'm just people watching, trying not to look like I've been stood up. Then I see him walking in, and my spirit leaves my body. This man, for Albert's Bar, in Manhattan, on a first date, walks in wearing a soccer jersey, basketball shorts, and an Orioles cap. I'm not judging casual. I love casual, but that's not slightly underdressed. That is, I'm headed to a sports bar with wings and sticky floors energy. I look like date night. He looks like kickoff. He gives me a hug like nothing is wrong. I'm mentally standing next to myself like, we are not at the same event. We sit at the bar. Bartender asks, what can I get you guys? I order a gin and tonic, my safe, standard drink. He orders a beer, cool. Not a problem. Then the bartender hits us with, open or closed tab? I pause. Because traditionally on a first date, especially one he asked for, and he picked the slightly nicer bar, he handles the tab. At least opens it. I'm looking at him. He's looking at me. Bartender's looking at both of us. Then he goes all casual. Oh, do you mind paying? I get paid tomorrow. I'm sorry? In my head, you picked the furthest, nicest bar when I gave you cheaper options specifically for your commute. You waited till we got here, drinks ordered, to suddenly remember payday isn't today. Out loud I just blink and go, sure. Because what am I gonna do? Argue with this stranger in front of the bartender? No thanks. So I hand over my card. Bartender starts a tab in my name. I'm already doing math in my head, like okay, this is fine, we'll have one drink each, then I'll go home and never see him again. Now if the conversation had been amazing, maybe I would roll my eyes and move on. But guess what? The conversation was trash. I ask him about his job. He answers. For 10 minutes. Detailed. Lots of I and me. Cool, no problem. Then I ask what he studied in school. He tells me his major, how he picked it, what his GPA was, how he almost did something else but didn't. Long story. No follow-up question for me. I ask what he's passionate about. He says something. Music. Sports. Cool. Still no. What about you? I ask his favorite movie. Favorite book. Places he's traveled. Places he wants to go. I find out what town he grew up in. The sport he played as a kid. Where his siblings go to school. I know this man's life story. I am his unofficial biographer. You know what he knows about me? That I'm in New York for an internship. And my dad used to coach football. That's it. That's the whole data set. He never asks a single question back. Not one. I talk just to fill the silence because otherwise we'd be sitting in complete quiet while my card is open and his shoulders are relaxed. At this point, I'm like, maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe he's socially awkward. Maybe he'll warm up. Then he's like, wanna go to another bar? My wallet is screaming, you know. My survival instincts are also like, girl, go home. But the people pleaser in me is like, okay, sure. One more. We close out the tab. I sign tip, die a little inside. Then we walk over to a cheaper dive bar closer to my place. We get there. Order 2 beers. Bartender, same card? I look at him out the corner of my eye. He does not move. I am now the official financial sponsor of this outing. So yeah, I pay again. Same conversation pattern. I ask. He answers. He goes on tangents about his childhood and hobbies. At one point, I test it. I go quiet. Don't ask anything. Just sip my drink. He says nothing. Makes no attempt to engage me. Does not think, maybe I should ask her something. Just sits there. So I start talking about myself out of sheer discomfort, where I'm from, random facts, stuff about my internship. He nods along but doesn't dig deeper like he actually cares. He's not rude, just completely incurious. We finish our drinks. I can hear my bank account sighing. I'm like, yeah, I've got work tomorrow. I should probably head back. We walk outside. We're going different directions. He says, I can walk you a bit, but it's one of those half-hearted offers where you can tell he doesn't really want to. So I say I'm good. He hugs me, says, it was really nice meeting you. I reply, yeah, thanks for coming into the city. In my head, and thank me for funding your night out, actually. I go home and tell my roommate everything. We're both screaming into the void. But it gets better. About an hour later, I get a text from him. Hey, can you send me how much I owe you? Now I'm stuck. Because on one hand, yes, pay me back. On the other hand, the way this date went, I kind of never want to talk to you again. I'm torn between sending him the full total, both bars, tax, tip, emotional inconvenience. Sending just as half. Sending only the price of the beers at the second bar. Or leaving it and taking this as the cost of a lesson learned. And I'm sitting there like, if he pays me back for only the beers and not the first round, do I reply and say, actually you owe me more? Or do I just mute the chat, block his number, and let this man drift back to New Jersey like a poorly dressed financial ghost? Because here's the real thing that bothers me. It's not even about the money. If he'd said before the date, hey, I'm low on cash till payday, could we do something chill or split? I'd respect that. Times are hard. We can grab coffee, go for a walk, whatever. Be honest. What he did was pick the nicest, furthest bar. Show up underdressed. Not tell me he couldn't pay. Let me open a tab. Let me pay at the second place too. Barely show interest in who I am as a person. All while being completely comfortable. I've technically known this man since high school, Facebook old. Back when people used to post Drake lyrics as statuses and write on your wall for your birthday. We'd chat here and there, flirt a bit, then fall off. Nothing serious. Fast forward years later, I'm 24, living back in Miami, minding my business, posting cute things on my WhatsApp story because Caribbean men love WhatsApp more than Instagram. One day, I see his name pop up. Him. Yo, you back in Miami? Me. Yeah, been here a minute. Him. Wow, if I'd known, I would have taken you out ages ago. Here we go. He starts coming on strong. We gotta go out. I always thought you were fine. Let me make it up to you for not taking you out before. After a bit of back and forth, he's like, let me take you to Taco Tuesday on Tuesday. And listen, if there's one thing about me, I love tacos. I love margaritas. I love midweek vibes. So I'm like, bet. Let's do it. This is on a Saturday. Sunday? Crickets. Monday? Crickets. Tuesday morning? Not a peep. Now mind you, I'm the kind of person who needs confirmation. If I don't hear from you, I'm not beating my face and shaving my legs for vibes and hope. So by Tuesday afternoon, I've mentally canceled it. Then like 2 hours before the time he vaguely suggested, he FaceTimes me. Not texts. FaceTimes. I answer in my bonnet, looking like someone's tired aunt. He's like, you getting ready? You still coming, right? I'm like, sir, I haven't heard from you in 2 days. I assumed it was off. He says, nah, I thought it was set. Of course we're still on. Come on, get ready, it's Taco Tuesday. My better judgment was screaming no. But my stomach was whispering nachos. So I compromise with my foolishness. I throw on something cute, nothing crazy. He sends me this little promo flyer for Taco Tuesday at some spot. All I look at is the address. That's it. No deep dive, no vibe check, no reading the fine print like a sane human being. I pull up. As soon as I park, I already know I messed up. There are red and blue lights flashing. I hear a full-on DJ set from outside. Both doors to the place are open. I can literally see people dancing, smoking hookah, holding bottles. There is not a single taco in sight. This is not tacos and chill. This is club night with tortilla branding. I text him, hey, I'm outside. Where are you? He replies, come in. Come in. Why aren't you coming to the door to get me? Why am I walking into a club by myself like a groupie? I'm like, okay, maybe he has a table. Maybe he's inside waiting. Maybe I'm overreacting. So I walk in. The place is split into 2 zones. Front area, bar, some tables, hookah. Back area, open floor, DJ booth, more tables, lights, chaos. I scan the room, checking every table. No sign of him. I'm already irritated. So I move further in and look toward the DJ booth. And there he is. Behind the booth. Headphones on the mic. DJing. This man invited me. To Taco Tuesday. As a date. To a place where he is the DJ. Not as a guest. Not to sit with him. To watch him work. I stand there in the doorway like, oh, I've been tricked. I've been scammed. I've been recruited as unpaid ambience. He sees me from the booth, smiles big, and gives me the little come in wave. Meanwhile, the crowd is vibing, the lights are going, he's shouting over the mic, ladies, make some new eyes. And I'm like, not me being one of the ladies. I'm the girlfriend of nobody. I'm just here. I sit at an empty table by myself. No menus. No tacos. Just vibes and regret. Between tracks he comes over, gives me a little side hug, all hyped up. You made it. I'm glad you came. I'm like, you didn't mention you were the DJ. He laughs. I did. It's on the flyer. He runs back to the booth. I pull the flyer up on my phone. And sure enough, there it is, in tiny text. Music by DJ ____, which is in fact his DJ name. But I didn't know that. That's not the government name I knew him by in high school. I had no idea this alias belonged to him. He knew that. He assumed I'd connect it. I did not. So now I'm sitting there like, okay, so I didn't come on a date. I came to his job. This isn't quality time. This is free moral support. I am now accidentally a fan. I text my sister like, girl, I am at Taco Tuesday. There are no tacos, and my date is the DJ. She's blowing up my phone with laughing emojis and go home. Instead, because I'm stubborn and curious, I decide to do what any self-respecting woman does when she feels tricked. I investigate. I pull up his Instagram. I've seen it casually but never deep dived. Now I scroll like the FBI with Wi-Fi. First thing I see? A baby. Not like a cousin baby. His baby. He has a whole child I knew nothing about. Whole fatherhood arc. There are pictures of him with the baby, pictures of baby shower balloons, even cryptic captions like, doing everything for you now. Interesting. I scroll more. It's giving. Party promotions. DJ nights. Catch me at club name, posters. Stories with girls tagging him from crowds. So suddenly our date is looking a lot less like romance and a lot more like, let me invite this girl I've always thought was cute so she can come stand around at my event and make my life feel more exciting. You didn't want to take me out. You wanted me to show up. I'm sitting there, music blasting, thinking, this is not a date. This is a gig. He comes back on a song change like, you want something to drink? I'm like, yeah, sure. He gets me a drink, goes right back to the booth. Crowd energy is up, people are dancing. I'm at the table doing a full background check like it's my job. Because the thing about me, if I feel like you lied by omission, now I'm going to fill in everything else you didn't say. I don't just look at Insta. I go to Facebook. And then I go to those background check sites. Yes, mid-date. If you can DJ, I can dig. I start pulling info, where he's lived, age, possible case records, traffic tickets, even child support history if it pops up. Not because I want to date him anymore, because I want to confirm what my gut is already saying. This man didn't invite me for connection. He invited me for decoration. He didn't say, let's get tacos. He said, come watch me be the main character while you sit there alone. He's on the mic yelling, everybody put your hands up. And I'm at the table like, everybody put your lies in order. At some point, he comes over again, all sweaty and hyped. You're good? You enjoying yourself? I look him dead in the eye and say, yeah, it's interesting. He kisses his teeth like, you always been too bougie, then runs back to the booth. That sealed it. I finish my drink, order some wings just to say I ate something, and mentally clock out. I text him, hey, I'm gonna head out. Got an early morning. He replies, already? Stay a little longer. I'm about to really turn it up. No, sir. You can turn it up with your crowd. I'm not part of the lineup. I walk out, book my ride, and as I sit in the back seat, I feel that familiar mix of annoyance and relief. Annoyed because you had the chance to actually plan a date. You chose instead to fold me into your work night like a side promo. You conveniently didn't mention you'd be DJing the whole time. Relieved because imagine if I had actually caught feelings. Imagine finding out later that date nights are just his way of getting you to clap for him while he performs for other women. I swear, every time I open a dating app in 2025, I feel like I'm consenting to data collection. Like somewhere in Silicon Valley, there's a guy in a Patagonia vest taking notes while I unknowingly participate in the world's longest, most chaotic sociology study. Modern dating does not feel like dating. It feels like a social experiment, a simulation glitch, a psychological endurance test, a group project where only the women do the work, a prank show where the cameras never reveal themselves, a public beta test for an emotional software update that keeps failing. You go on one date and think, okay, that was weird, but maybe it's just him. Then you go on 3 more and realize, no, babe, it's the whole system. Everyone's lying. Everyone's cheating. Everyone's breadcrumbing, ghosting, haunting, benching, soft launching, and treating serious relationships like trial subscriptions. Like one creator said, and I'll never forget it, in Jamaica dem say, dem attest your faith. No, because that's exactly what it feels like. Every date is a pop quiz on how much nonsense you're willing to tolerate. Let's review. You've got the man who invites you on a date, but the date is actually his DJ gig and you're the unpaid audience. The guy helping a friend who is actually staying overnight at his ex's house with her kids. The man who ghosted mid-vape by sprinting into a cab like he was avoiding child support. The one who shows up in a soccer jersey to a Manhattan cocktail bar and can't pay for his drinks. The guy with dozens of playlists named after you even though you met one time. The cancels plans but posts online at brunch ghosters. The let's just vibe men who want relationship benefits with zero relationship clarity. The Sherpa of trauma who wants you to listen to his whole life story but won't ask a single question about yours. And then after all that, people have the nerve to ask, so why are you single? Because I'm not trying to get trapped in season 8 of Black Mirror, Dating Edition. Dating in 2025 is not about finding love. It's about survival. It's Hunger Games, Hinge Edition. And everyone is playing. Women? Exhausted. Men? Confused. Everyone? Disillusioned. One creator said it best. Women are doing all the emotional labor and men are doing all the vibes. You know she's right. Every date now feels like a job interview mixed with a therapy session, moderated by someone who hasn't emotionally updated since 2012. The scripts are predictable too. Love bombing, Day 1, you're my soulmate. Day 12, sorry I've been busy. Breadcrumbing. Good morning beautiful sun, once a week like a vitamin supplement. Ghosting. Hey babe, I'm just gonna step out for a vape. Never comes back. Soft launching. Posting your hand at brunch, cropped out so hard you look like an AI rendering. Roster building. People dating 5 people at once like they're running fantasy leagues. Delusion. Men thinking a coffee and vibes equals a relationship. Women thinking a man who texts consistently is ready for marriage. Both wrong. But what gets me? What truly has me staring at the ceiling at 2 a.m.? It's how intentional dating, like trying to date with actual purpose, feels impossible now. One creator said, if you're dating with marriage in mind in 2025, you're basically trying to play basketball underwater. Facts. People are scared of commitment, allergic to accountability, and violently opposed to effort. Everybody wants connection, but nobody wants to be vulnerable. Everybody wants loyalty, but nobody wants to be exclusive. Everybody wants love, but nobody wants to risk anything for it. Instead, they want energies, vibes, situationships. Let's just see where this goes. We're talking but not talking. We're exclusive, but I still need my freedom. We're emotionally intimate, but also strangers. It's insanity. Sometimes I think the dating pool isn't even small, it's evaporating. It's like a stinky puddle left after a long drought. And somehow we're all crouching around it going, is this it? And don't get me started on the gender wars. Men on podcasts are like, women don't bring anything to the table. Women on TikTok are like, I am the table, the chairs, the centerpiece, the napkin rings, and the ambience. So what exactly are you bringing besides audacity? Men say women are materialistic. Women say men are lazy. Men say women are unrealistic. Women say men are unserious. And both of them? Still on dating apps, still swiping, still miserable. Because the horror of 2025 dating isn't one bad man. It's not one tragic date. It's not the DJ trick, the ex-sleepover guy, the man who thinks Alfredo is your favorite food because your sister said you liked it that one time. It's realizing that this is the new normal. That the bar is so low it's underground. That consistency is romantic now. That effort feels suspicious. That normal behavior feels like a green flag. That when someone plans a date without trauma attached, we treat it like a miracle healing. Dating used to be 2 people trying to figure out if they liked each other. Now it's 2 people trying to decide. Are you lying? Are you hiding someone? Are you emotionally stable? Are you sane? Are you using me for validation? Are you secretly married? Are you DJing tonight? Are you going to run away mid-vape? Are you building a roster or building a life? Every date feels like a risk assessment. Every match feels like a scam. Every, hey, feels like a prelude to disappointment. And honestly, if we're all being real, dating in 2025 isn't scary because of the bad people. It's scary because of how normal the bad behavior has become. The horror isn't the DJ date, or the ghosting, or the ex with kids, or the man with your face on 27 playlists. The horror is waking up to the realization that the dating pool has turned into a science experiment, and we're all unwilling participants. And the worst part, we keep signing up again. So I match with this guy on Tinder, Luke, northern lad, from Middlesbrough, construction worker currently down in Belvedere, living in Erith. 10 days of chatting. 10 full days. And listen, he's normal. He texts good morning, good night, tells jokes, voice notes me in that heavy northern accent that sounds like a pub fight waiting to happen, but charming enough. Good banter. Calls his mum on Sundays. Works proper long shifts. The only red flag was he likes a drink, but honestly half of Tinder is functioning off lager, so whatever. We've been speaking so much I'm like, okay, this might actually be decent. Then date day arrives. I wake up. No good morning text. Weird. He always says good morning. I shrug it off until I check my phone again at noon and see. Good morning, Katie. Katie? Who is Katie? I stare at my phone like it insulted my whole lineage. So I text him. Who's Katie? And he hits me with, oh sorry, face with tears of joy, she works in the site office. Meant to text her that. Right? Because everyone mixes up their crush's name with a co-worker they barely know. But whatever. I'm not gonna cuff him over the name situation on day 1. I let it slide. We set the date for 8 p.m. He says he'll be there at 8. I leave at 7:30 and get there right on time, because I'm a punctual queen. At 8 o'clock, nothing. 8:05, nothing. 8:10, running 15 minutes late. No sorry. Just statement. Okay, sure. 8:15, I'm sipping a drink alone, pretending I'm not being stood up. 8:20, sorry nightmare. Leaving in 5. 8:25, Ubers are mad tonight. 8:30, not answering my call. I'm literally giving him 5 more minutes before I leave. Then, as the waiter is asking if I'm being stood up, and I'm about to say yes, in walks Luke. And he looks a mess. Sweating. Flushed. Eyes too wide. Sniffly. Erratic. He sits down, orders a lager and a sambuca in one breath. Like he's a football hooligan celebrating a win no one else saw. The moment he sits, he grabs my leg. Like full palm on my thigh. I flinch. He then grabs my face, cheek squish and all, and leans in to kiss me. I jerk back like, whoa, we just met? He laughs it off, but I'm already internally filing police reports. The date continues and this man does not shut up. He talks at me, not to me. About himself only. About how mint he is. How every girl up north fancied him. How he's proper fit for his age. How he smashes it on sight. How he's a lad's lad. How this ginger, big-hipped, good-skinned woman me is exactly his type. Every 45 seconds he interrupts his own story to say, "Yar mint you. You're sexy you. You're a bit of me you." It was like being chatted up by a malfunctioning robot programmed only with northern compliments. Meanwhile, he's sniffling. Constantly. Rubbing his nose. Wiping it. Sniff, sniff, sniff. I'm like, "Luke, are you on packet?" He goes wide-eyed, offended. "Nah babe, what you on about?" "My brother in Christ, you're sweating sambuca and cocaine." I try to ask basic questions like, "So what made you move down south?" He interrupts. "Hold on. You're mint you." He's glued to his phone half the time, too, texting fast, acting jumpy. Like he's waiting for instructions on how to escape a hostage situation. At this point, I am done. I'm looking at Uber prices like, this is worth the 32 pounds, I swear. But I'm polite. I try to wrap it up. He says, Nah, stay babe, I'm really into you. Proper into you. Then suddenly he stands up. "I'm gonna nip out for a vape, back in a sec." Grabs my face again, kisses my cheek, and walks outside. I'm thinking, perfect. I can leave now. But before I can move, a woman approaches me, older, blonde, mid-50s. She looks concerned. She goes, "Love. I'm so sorry, I just watched him run into a cab outside." Like Sprint. Then he ducked down behind the window like he didn't want you to see him. I burst out laughing because at this point, the audacity is so astronomical it's comedic. She gestures to the man she's with and says, "He works with Luke. Come sit with us while you wait for your cab." I join them and this man goes, "Oh love, run. Run for your life. That bloke's a nightmare." Apparently, Luke has a reputation. A big one. They tell me. He's obnoxious on sight. Always causing drama. Cheats constantly. Has a partner back home. Has kids, yes plural. Lies about everything. Acts single in London to live a bit. I'm sitting there like, so he called me Katie because... They go. He mixes up girls' names all the time. Oh. Then it hits me, this man ran away mid-date. Full sprint. Like he heard police sirens in the distance. He didn't just dip. He fled the scene like a criminal evading capture. But listen, I didn't feel humiliated. Not for 1 second. Because while I was sitting there, sipping my drink with strangers, I realized something. God, the universe, my ancestors, someone, handed me a warning label in human form. A full "do not touch, may contain diseases" sticker. I dodged a nuclear bomb. A walking red flag factory. A man who orders sambuca on a first date. A man who runs to cabs like he's escaping a hit job. So no, I didn't lose. I escaped. Bear with me. It gets good towards the end. This happened a couple years ago. The receptionist at one of my clients talked/begged me into meeting her best friend, who just moved to LA from Phoenix. She swore up and down we were perfect for each other. I checked out her OKC profile, chatted back and forth for a few days, then talked to the mystery girl once on the phone, and we decided to meet for dinner and drinks at a local bar and grill after her shift. She's a nurse, was over on a Tuesday night. We meet. She's an adorable, petite, dirty blonde with glasses and freckles. Totally my type. I could tell she was a bit nervous. We sit down and order drinks. She downs her apple martini in less than 5 minutes, orders another and apologizes, stating she wants to loosen up a bit because she's nervous since her friend talked me up so much. Which is odd since I don't even know her friend that well at all. Fast forward a bit. She ended up having 2 martinis before the appetizers came, 2 more in between appetizers and 3 more during dinner, and 1 more right before the check came. Total martinis had by a 5'3" girl in a 3-hour period. 7 surprisingly, the conversation during this period did quite well. The trouble came as we were about to leave, and she decided to use the restroom before we hit the road. She fell twice on the way, and once on the way back. Since she was clearly hammered, I offered to drive her home and give her some cash for a cab in the morning to pick her car up. She agreed but declined the cash. Mind you, it's nearing midnight, and I have to get up at 5:30 for work. As we are driving toward her apartment, it becomes apparent that, combined with her drunken state and the fact she's lived in the valley for less than 2 weeks, she forgot her address and how to get herself home. We drive around North Hollywood and Studio City for an hour trying to remember her street or any local landmarks. This fails and I'm getting tired/frustrated. I offer to let her stay at my place. Nothing weird. She can crash on my bed and I'll take the couch. She's okay with this. On my way back to my place, she attempts to throw up out the car window, but doesn't realize the window was never open in the first place. Vomit everywhere. Now she's crying and apologizing like crazy. I get her to my apartment, carry her up the 3 flights of stairs, and toss her on my bed. She's out cold. I go downstairs and spend another 40 minutes cleaning out my car, and finally get to sleep on my couch around 2 a.m. Around 4:30 a.m. I'm awoken by a shrill scream coming from my bedroom. I run in wearing just my boxers, flip the light on. The girl pauses for a second, looks at me and screams more, backs into a corner, and throws my nightstand lamp at me while yelling, "Who the fuck are you?" It takes a minute for me to calm her down and explain the situation and remind her of our night. It eventually all comes back to her. She starts crying and apologizing. After I calm her down some more, I give her a ride home. During our ride home, the awkward silence is only broken by her apologizing while sobbing, telling me how to get to her place, and then asking if we hooked up. I told her we didn't, and that I'm not the creepy type to take advantage of girls in her condition. She replied with something along the lines of, "Oh, okay. I'm not typically a lush, and I'm definitely not a slut. I was just super nervous and didn't know my limit last night. You seem great, and I hope we can see each other again." I ended up saying, sure, just to avoid any more awkwardness, gave her an in-car hug, and said goodnight. The next day, while slothing around work in a meeting, she called. It went to voicemail. Immediately she called again. Twice. Finally she left a voicemail. Said voicemail went something like this: "So I was thinking about what I asked you on our way home last night in regards to us hooking up. And I'm kind of curious as to why you didn't try anything with me. Is it because you think you're too good for me, huh? Mr. Big Shot LA guy? Well, whatever. I'm not a slut and don't sleep around, but you missed a shot at some awesome sex last night. So whatever." Click about half an hour later, while I'm still in the meeting, she calls and leaves another voicemail. This time crying. "I'm sorry about what I said earlier. I'm just having trouble adjusting to a new place. I'm homesick. You seem real great. Please call me back and please don't ignore me. Please. I'm sorry." Needless to say, I didn't call her back. Her friend, the receptionist, apologized profusely the next time I saw her. We didn't talk much about it after that. TLDR, blind date and new girl in town gets blackout drunk on first date. Pukes all over my car. Can't drive or remember way to her apartment. Stays at my place in my bed while I sleep on my couch. Wakes up at 4 a.m., doesn't know where she is, freaks out, screams, throws lamp at me. I calm her down, take her home. She calls me 4 times the next day, leaves voicemail scathing me for not taking advantage of her. Calls back shortly after and apologizes, asks to hang out again. I never speak to her again. I didn't know how quickly a dream could turn into a nightmare until I met Reed. I'm Sophie. At the time, I was 24, fresh out of college, and living in Silverwood, Maine, a tiny coastal town where everyone knew each other's grandparents and half the buildings leaned a little from the salty wind. Silverwood could be suffocating sometimes, but it was safe. Predictable. Or so I thought. I met Reed on Omegle, of all places. It was a rainy Saturday night. I was bored, lonely, and half-heartedly clicking through random chats when his face popped up. He looked normal. Cute, even messy dark hair, wire-rimmed glasses, a shy half-smile. He said he was 25, from a town about an hour away. Said he loved hiking, camping, and photography. We talked for hours that night. About books, about music, about places we wanted to travel someday. He seemed genuine. Funny without trying too hard. Interested without being creepy. We exchanged numbers before logging off. Over the next few weeks, we texted constantly. Little things at first, memes, good morning messages, song recommendations. Then longer conversations about life, dreams, fears. He was easy to open up to. It felt like we had known each other for years instead of days. When he suggested meeting in person, it didn't seem crazy. It seemed inevitable. Reed proposed a camping trip, just a quick overnight at a public campground about 30 minutes inland, surrounded by state forest. I hesitated, going into the woods with a guy I barely knew. Even my loneliness couldn't completely drown out that little voice of caution. But he reassured me, said it was a well-trafficked site, public, safe. He even suggested we drive separately, so I could leave anytime if I felt uncomfortable. It sounded reasonable. It sounded safe. I agreed. The day of the trip was bright and clear, the air crisp with early autumn. I packed light, sleeping bag, snacks, a flashlight, and met Reed at the campground entrance just before noon. He waved when he saw me, smiling wide enough that his whole face lit up. He was taller than I expected, lankier, but still had that same boyish charm. We hiked about half a mile into a designated camping area, small clearings with fire pits and picnic tables. There were a few other tents scattered around, families and couples laughing and cooking over open fires. It felt safe. It felt normal. Reed was easy company, setting up his tent, helping me with mine, joking about how bad he was at hammering in the stakes. We spent the afternoon exploring the trails, taking silly selfies, talking about everything and nothing. When the sun began to dip behind the trees, we built a fire and roasted marshmallows. It was nice. Too nice. Looking back, I realize how hard he worked to make me lower my guard. It wasn't until later, after the families had packed up their dinners, after the other campers had retreated into their tents, that things shifted. We were sitting by the dying fire, sipping cheap beer from a shared cooler, when Reed leaned closer. "Want to go for a walk?" he asked, voice low. I hesitated. The woods were dark now, shadows thick between the trees. But I didn't want to seem paranoid. Didn't want to ruin the night. "Sure," I said, forcing a smile. We grabbed our flashlights and wandered down a narrow trail, the beams of light slicing through the darkness. At first, Reed was casual, pointing out constellations through gaps in the canopy, telling funny stories about camping trips gone wrong. Then he stopped walking, turned to face me. "You're really beautiful," he said. Before I could respond, he grabbed my wrist. Not hard at first, more like a firm hold, like he didn't want me to run. Alarm bells exploded in my head. I laughed nervously, trying to pull away, but he didn't let go. "Come on," he said, voice slipping from gentle to something sharper. "I know you want this." "I think I'm gonna head back," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. He didn't move, just tightened his grip. "Pretending you're scared? That's cute." Panic seized me. I yanked my arm back as hard as I could, stumbling a few steps away. Reed lunged. I turned and ran. The forest blurred around me, branches tearing at my clothes, roots grabbing at my ankles. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't care. I just knew I had to get away. I could hear him crashing through the underbrush behind me, cursing, calling my name. I didn't stop. Didn't look back. Somehow, miraculously, I spilled out onto the main campground trail. I sprinted toward the nearest cluster of tents, sobbing, gasping for air. A woman stepped out of a tent, flashlight in hand, face creased with concern. I choked out a desperate plea for help. Within minutes, a group of campers had gathered. Strength in numbers. When Reed stumbled out of the woods, breathing hard, he stopped short at the sight of all those witnesses. His face twisted, anger, frustration, before he turned and vanished back into the trees. Someone called 911. The police showed up about 20 minutes later, lights flashing, radios crackling. I filed a report, gave them everything I knew, his name, his phone number, our chats. By morning, Reed's tent was abandoned. He was gone. An investigation followed, but Reed had covered his tracks well. The number he gave me was a burner. The photos he sent were old, maybe even stolen. He wasn't from the town he claimed. No one seemed to know who he really was. He just vanished. Sometimes I wonder if Silverwood was just one stop on a long, twisted road. If he had done this before. If he would do it again. The thought keeps me awake more nights than I care to admit. It's been over a year now. I don't go camping anymore. I don't meet strangers online. I don't dismiss that little voice in my head when it tells me something's wrong. Because monsters don't always roar when they come for you. So after a year of being single, I let my best friend, Amanda, convince me to give the apps one more chance. "Oh, come on," she said. "You're just being dramatic. Not everyone on there is a sociopath." Amanda was wrong. Rock Bottom, Part 1, The Businessman. Let me rewind for a second. Last year, I matched with this guy on Bumble. Let's call him Ethan. Ethan's profile was everything a woman in her late 20s/early 30s wants to see. He described himself as a successful business owner, college educated, and ready to settle down. His pictures were normal, no shirtless selfies, no group shots where I had to figure out which one he was, no weird bathroom mirror pics. He looked normal. We started chatting, and Ethan was good. Like really good. He asked thoughtful questions, he didn't bombard me with cheesy pickup lines, and he made me laugh. He told me he owned a small marketing agency, which I thought was impressive. He even mentioned how he'd spent the past year reflecting on his life, and how he was ready to find someone to settle down with. I thought, wow, maybe this is what all the therapy and bad dates were leading up to. We agreed to meet for coffee. And let me tell you, Ethan was charming. He showed up on time, he complimented me, but not in a creepy or over-the-top way, and he actually seemed interested in what I had to say. I left that date thinking, maybe this is it. Maybe I've finally found a decent guy. Fast forward to 2 days later. I was sitting at my desk at work, scrolling through Facebook, as one does when they're procrastinating, and I got a notification. Someone you may know. I clicked on his profile out of curiosity, and that's when I saw it. Someone had commented on one of his recent photos. "Glad you're out, bro, hope you're staying out of trouble this time." Excuse me? Being the curious, nosy person I am, I started digging. And that's when I found out that Ethan had been released from prison 2 weeks before our date. He'd spent the past 14 years in lockup for armed robbery, social security fraud, and child endangerment. 14 years. He was 36, which means he went to prison at 22. His successful marketing agency? Yeah, that was a side hustle he'd started in prison. His year of reflection? That was literal prison time. Needless to say, I blocked him immediately and spent the rest of the evening reevaluating my life choices. Rock Bottom, Part 2, The Cop. Before Ethan, there was Mike. Mike was one of those guys who looked like he'd walked straight out of a Hallmark movie. Clean cut, broad shoulders, big smile, golden retriever energy. He messaged me first with something witty about my bio, and I thought, finally, a guy with a personality. Mike was a cop, or at least, that's what he said. He told me he'd been in law enforcement for 10 years, and was up for a promotion to chief. I wasn't sure if I was ready to date a cop, but he was so charming and polite that I thought, why not? We went out for drinks, and honestly, the date was fine. Not amazing, not terrible. He seemed like a nice enough guy, but there were a few things that felt a little off. For one, he talked about himself a lot. Like, I could barely get a word in before he'd interrupt me to tell me another story about how he'd saved the day at work. The other thing that bugged me was how vague he was when I asked him about his job. I'd ask something like, "What's your day-to-day like?" And he'd just say, "Oh, it's always different." Keeps me on my toes. Still, I figured maybe he was just being cautious about sharing too much since, he was a cop. Fast forward a week, and Amanda sends me a link to a news article with a text that just says, "Isn't this the guy you went out with?" I clicked the link, and there he was, Mike, staring back at me in a mugshot. Turns out, Mike had been fired from the police force a month before our date. Not only that, but he was under state and federal investigation for stalking, domestic violence, and illegally wiretapping his ex-girlfriend. I spent the next 24 hours convincing myself that I was not, in fact, cursed, but just very, very unlucky. The return to the hellscape. Which brings us to now. Against my better judgment, I let Amanda convince me to re-download Bumble. She said, "You've just had bad luck. Lightning doesn't strike 3 times. Amanda was wrong again. I matched with this guy named Chris last week. His profile seemed normal. He worked in tech, he liked hiking, he had a golden retriever, red flag. Maybe? I thought, okay, let's give this one more shot. Chris and I started messaging, and everything seemed fine at first. He was funny, polite, and didn't send me any unsolicited shirtless pics, which, at this point, felt like a win. But then about 5 messages in, he hit me with, "So, how do you feel about polyamory?" Now, I'm not knocking polyamory, it's just not for me. So I told him as much, thinking that would be the end of the conversation. But Chris was not ready to let it go. He spent the next 20 minutes trying to convince me that monogamy was a social construct, and that I'd be happier and more fulfilled if I just gave polyamory a shot. When I politely declined, he said, "Well, it's your loss." Most women would kill to have a guy as emotionally evolved as me. I unmatched him immediately. A girl invited me over to her house after maybe a week of intermittent OKC chatting to watch the Breaking Bad finale. We both liked the show, but on the way to her house, she lived maybe a 15-minute drive away. She chooses to confide in me that she's actually a drug dealer and that she hopes I'm okay with it. Now, I'm not a big druggie, maybe the most casual, once every couple months smoker at best, but I'm an open-minded person, so I said what the hell. I was already closer to her place than mine, and I wanted to see what was on Breaking Bad. I get there and a few things are some blatant signals that something's wrong, which I, in my laid-back naivety, chose to ignore. First off, she's about half a foot shorter than her listed profile height and maybe 20 lbs heavier. This was a problem because I'm already a tall man, so at this point we've got a nearly 2-foot height differential. Additionally, she's dressed in a shawl like a sort of suburban stoner vampirella, and the whole house is unheated, in November, mind you, and unlit, save for many, many candles. I could clearly tell that this wasn't going to work out, but still I soldiered on for a bit for the sake of Breaking Bad. I sit down on a couch, and she just disappears for roughly 10 minutes. I'm not about to turn on her television for fear of rudeness, and also because I'm not 100% sure that this house has power yet. After she returns, she has her dealer boss, for lack of a better term, with her, and with him perhaps the biggest bag of weed I've seen in my life. The two proceed to lay it out on the table and take out little baggies, building up smaller stores for sales or whatever. You can see my weed expertise is lacking. And this whole time the girl doesn't really talk to me at all. Her dealer boss and I have a polite conversation about various things, and honestly I was a bit surprised that they were displaying this whole operation to some guy she met on the internet. I must have one of those faces. I mentioned my Breaking Bad, my only hope of salvation, and they turned on a little television in the corner. The volume was low though, because apparently I was interrupting their business meeting with my quality television. Maybe 20 minutes in, they get a knock at the door, and in comes several other of their little dealer crew to help with their community harvest. Here I am, sitting on a couch in the corner, a fly on the wall, as 6 people just talk shop about drug dealing while bagging up little weed parcels for all the good little boys and girls. All this time the girl didn't really talk to me at all, and the other people made more polite small talk. After Breaking Bad, admittedly I missed a lot of the plot. I excused myself and left. A story from a friend of mine to add. I online date quite a bit, for I don't have the time or desire to go to a pub to meet women, and also it is a great tool for weeding out the crazies. One of my worst experiences was a few years ago, and really it isn't all that bad, however you may enjoy my tale. We met on Match.com, and hit it off in email pretty well with a few small warning signs that at the time seemed like general inquisitiveness. Signs like, what is your job? Does that pay well? In addition, her constant drive for acceptance, compliments, status, and her devout materialism. Being less cynical than I am now, we set up a date and agree on a moderately fancy place in downtown Seattle. We set our date for 7, and I make reservations. When I arrive, 5 minutes early, she is already at the table and has 3 empty martini glasses before her and nursing her 4th. Her photos were not all that out of date and represented her, perhaps 10 pounds lighter, but they definitely were not up to date. She dressed to impress, but in my mind's eye, I recall something not being right about it all. Through the date, she kept trying to impress me about things she owned, places she had been, and name-dropping famous people she claimed to have known. Her continued emphasis on equating her worth to material things, and her continued inquiries about my worth, such as, do you rent, with a sneer, or do you own, were rapidly rising from warning to alarming. When it came time to order, she chose the most expensive thing on the menu, surf and turf with lobster, and ordered not 1, but 2 more Bombay Sapphire martinis, which she plowed through during the meal, while only touching 1 or 2 bites of her entire meal. I kept my end chit-chat small, and enjoyed my meal and paired wine, and let her continue her self-aggrandizement. For dessert, she ordered some $50 chocolate champagne truffle mousse and 2 more cocktails. I had coffee. I was beginning to grow concerned not just for my wallet, but also that she might actually be a pretty hardcore alcoholic. She had 2 bites of her dessert through the hour we talked and sent it off, like her meal, not requesting a doggy bag. As she siphoned off those 2 drinks, bringing her known total to 8 in 2.5 hours, I realized that there was something absolutely wrong with this person at a fundamental level, and getting any more involved with her would probably be a very, very bad idea. When the waiter appeared after the dessert, I said to him, "We will take the checks, please," with an emphasis on the S. On cue, she excused herself to the ladies' room. The waiter got my subtlety and promptly returned with 2 bill books and placed one on her setting, and I gave him my card. She remained in the bathroom until the waiter returned with my card and the receipt. As she came to the table complaining loudly about the bathroom, I bid her good evening and told her that I really wasn't interested in pursuing a relationship with her, but that I wished her the best of luck, and turned to walk to the door. About the time I got to the door, I heard her scream, "For $100. I am not paying this," and I walked out. I never heard from her again, and I hope she got the help that she needs. Also, I would like to add that since this date I moved from the Pacific Northwest to a suburb of Stockholm, Sweden. Where here in Sweden, at least on the first date, women always pay for themselves because regardless of gender, equality is equality. I kinda like this, and although I absolutely do not mind treating a date, I think that it sets an obligation-free atmosphere for a date that allows us to get to know one another without the specter of one person being beholden to another over a meal. So I met an insane woman on Match.com who decided to run up a $400 bill for her dinner and drinks, probably expecting me to pay for it. I paid my part and left her to hers. Later moved to Sweden, where women pay their own way. Here are some of my tidbits from over the years. One from Match.com had a bunch of face pics, extremely attractive, and said she's athletic, when in reality she was morbidly obese, probably 5 feet 5 inches, near 300 pounds. I still met up with her at Starbucks and spent a half hour chatting, then gave her a nice to meet you conclusion and never spoke with her again. A day later, she writes a psychotic, pissed off, 3-page email along the lines of, "What's your fucking problem? Are you superficial about my weight, you asshole? WTF, seriously, I never even said a word about it," even though she lied about her weight and body type. Another girl I met on Match was a hardcore alcoholic, worst I've ever seen, and my dad was one. She was 10x worse. Drank straight vodka like any of us would drink water. She was constantly getting into fist fights, squatting and pissing everywhere during the date, and was so bad at the end of the first date that I felt like I had to babysit her. She was no longer able to walk, so I took her home and let her sleep in my bed. Then I took care of her the next morning, as you'd take care of a sick child. Since we originally drove and met at a mutual place, I couldn't take her back to her car to drive home that night due to her condition. Not as if it were much better the morning after. One girl I dated twice popped this line on me. "Oh, I thought I should tell you this. Technically, I'm still considered married in Bermuda." I never spoke to her again, and she became a stalker lunatic, texting me 15x a day, no exaggeration, calling constantly and leaving messages for 2 weeks. Someone I dated for 3 months, of whom I was absolutely in love with, wound up having cheated on me the entire time with her douchebag drug addict ex from NYC. I have the biggest cheater/liar radar on earth, and she completely fooled me, and is still one of the few who were able to do so to this day. I found out after I started getting late-night prank calls from him while she laughed in the background, and both of them were high. Looks like she was also a druggie, which I never saw any signs of. I had to get a restraining order against both of them. I also reported him to the police as being a drug dealer. Kind of funny, during the second date with my ex from college, we went back to her house with her parents and found out that their house was robbed. Her father was a gigantic polished dude who was drunk on vodka all the time, and was really drunk at the time, so he threw a Hulk-like fit of rage on the sidewalk. He picked up a huge iron fence post and started smashing the pavement and some parked cars with it. The police came, and I pleaded with them to let him go. Turns out that at some point in between, he also ran down the block and put a few dents in cars with his fist. Dated someone from downtown NYC for over a month and a half, and we did absolutely nothing physical at all. It was very bizarre. Eventually she called me, crying, saying that the reason why is because she has herpes and didn't want me to catch it. I had an indescribable shock face on. I had no idea what to say, but I thanked her twice for saving me from catching it. We never spoke again. These are all reasons why I had to move out of New Jersey. About 4 years ago, reeling from a nasty breakup, I decided to give Match.com a try. A couple weeks after signing up, I received a message from a guy named Justin. He was cute and just my type, and we set up a date. We got along really well in person, and ended up going on a couple more dates. It seemed like everything was going well. Justin lived in Fullerton, and it was my turn to drive to him for a date. We headed over to Dave and Buster's and had a great time playing air hockey and Dance Revolution. Then we decided to head back to his place to watch a movie. We'd kissed a couple times, and Justin was an excellent kisser. I was looking forward to cuddling and more kissing. But first we decided to make a stop at 7-Eleven for some munchies. We gathered up a couple sodas and some candy and took them up to the register. $6.66, said the cashier as I pulled out my wallet to pay. Justin gasped loudly. "We can't possibly leave the total at $6.66, he exclaimed. "That's the mark of the devil." I just laughed. Justin got a very serious look on his face. "If we leave the total like that, we're going to get in a car accident on the way home and die." At this point, I felt he was being ridiculous. "Fine, grab something else if it bothers you that much." He threw a York peppermint patty on the counter and was satisfied when the total became $7.42. And we headed back to his place. After picking out a movie, we grabbed our bag of snacks and plopped down on his bed. I proceeded to take off my shoes and get comfortable. But Justin gasped again. "Oh, my God," he said. "Are those the socks with separate toes? Those really freak me out." I looked down at my striped toe socks. How could anyone be freaked out by something so goofy? "Seriously," he said, "I can't handle those socks. They really bother me." I just looked at him and leaned back on the bed. I was already over it. Little did I know Justin was just getting started. "Oh my God," he exclaimed. I could see that a light had just gone off inside his head. "I get it now. You're a witch. It all makes sense." "Come again?" I asked. "It all makes sense. Your black cat, your love of bats, your stripy witch socks, and you weren't even bothered by the $6.66. Are you a witch?" "Get real," I said. "I'm not a fucking witch." But I could see the guy was serious. "Retard." "Well, I think you're a witch," he said. "And can you please take off your socks? They're really bothering me." "I'm not taking off my damn socks," I replied. "You're being silly." "I can't help it. Those socks really freak me out. I'll do anything for you to take them off." "I'll pay you to take them off." "Any amount." "You'll pay me?" I asked. "Yes," came his reply. "Fine. Pay me $6.66. He glared at me as I packed up my stuff and left. And that was the last I ever saw of Justin. Guy I was dating seriously thought I was a witch. Lately, I've been messing around with Hinge. You know, that dating app that's supposed to be designed to be deleted. I'm 32 now, and honestly, I've been single longer than I'd like to admit. I used to roast dating apps nonstop. Thought they were just glorified swiping machines for hookups or weirdos. But my buddy Marcus? He wouldn't shut up about how he met his girlfriend there. He even proposed last summer, smug as hell about it. So one boring Thursday night, I caved. I downloaded Hinge, slapped together a profile with a few decent pics, answered some of the dumb prompts, and braced myself for disappointment. At first, it was exactly what I expected, a graveyard of awkward convos and cringe matches. And then I matched with her. Let's call her Sophia. Right from the start, Sophia and I clicked. Hard. We both nerded out over the same weird horror podcasts, laughed about our mutual obsession with Bad Diner coffee, and even had a shared love for building ridiculous Lego sets for stress relief. It didn't feel forced like most online chats. It was easy, natural. After about a week of late-night texts and inside jokes, we decided to meet up. I booked us a table at this little Italian spot not far from my place in Kingsland, Arkansas, a town so small you could blink and miss it. Dinner went way better than I dared to hope. Sophia was funny, sharp, even cuter in person. She had this easy laugh that made you feel like you were telling the best story in the world, even if you were just rambling about your dog puking on your shoes. When the check came, she offered to split it, which somehow made me like her even more. I went home that night with a stupid grin, thinking maybe, just maybe, something real was brewing. For our second date, we decided to keep it chill. Sophia would come over to my place, and I'd cook. Now, not to brag, but I can throw down in the kitchen. My mom had me whipping up homemade biscuits by the time I was 10, and my lasagna is practically a local legend among my friends. Sophia rolled up around 7:30 p.m., wearing this oversized sweater that somehow made her look even cuter, all cozy and casual like she belonged there. We ate creamy garlic pasta with grilled chicken, sipped wine, and talked about everything and nothing for hours. At some point, she asked if she could see the rest of my house. I was weirdly proud to show her around. I had worked my butt off for that little 3-bedroom ranch. My office was still half finished. The guest room was a dumping ground for laundry I kept promising to fold, and my garage was, well, a lost cause. She smiled at everything. Said it felt homey. I was pretty much floating by the time. She said she had to head out early for work the next morning. We hugged at the door, a long, lingering hug that made my heart do somersaults, and she left. A few minutes later, I shot her a text. Had a great time. Hope we can hang again soon. I figured she'd reply quick. She usually did. But nothing. Hours passed. I tried not to overthink it. Maybe she crashed early. Maybe her phone died. Eventually, I passed out, dreaming about third dates and future Lego builds. Sometime around 4 a.m., I woke up groggy as hell. My bladder was screaming for mercy, so I stumbled toward the bathroom, half asleep. Did my business, washed my hands, and was about to faceplant back into bed when I heard it, a clatter from the kitchen. Now, reminder, I live alone. No roommates. No pets. No reason for anything to be making noise at 4 in the freaking morning. Instant full-body panic. I tiptoed toward the kitchen, heart pounding so loud I thought whoever was there would hear it. When I turned the corner, I stopped dead. The kitchen was wrecked. Papers scattered everywhere. Drawers ripped open. Pans dumped onto the floor. Like someone had been tearing the place apart looking for something. I just stood there, frozen. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught a flash of movement. Someone darting through the hallway toward the guest room. My stomach dropped straight to the floor. Without thinking, I grabbed my phone and called 911, whispering into the receiver like some horror movie victim. The dispatcher kept me on the line, telling me to stay put and stay quiet. While I waited for the cops, some dumb part of me thought it would be smart to check the guest room, like I was suddenly action hero material. I crept down the hall and nudged the door open with my foot. Empty. Just the window swinging open in the breeze. Whoever had been there was gone. The police rolled up about 15 minutes later, lights flashing, guns drawn. They swept the house and the yard, but of course, the intruder was long gone. After a quick look around, I realized a bunch of stuff was missing too. My tablet. A couple watches I actually liked. Some cash I'd stashed in a kitchen drawer. Gone. The officers took my statement, nodded a lot, and said they'd do what they could. By the time they left, the sun was creeping over the horizon. I crashed on the couch for maybe an hour before dragging myself up for work. Still half asleep, I grabbed my phone, hoping to see a text from Sophia. Still nothing. Feeling stupid and desperate, I decided to call her. That's when I noticed her number had straight up blocked me. It hit me all at once, ugly and brutal. Sophia wasn't some sweet, quirky girl who liked horror podcasts and Lego sets. She was a scam artist. Her Hinge profile? Gone. Deleted. Her Instagram? Non-existent. Her TikTok she had once sent me? Dead link. It was like she had never existed at all. Over the next few days, I pieced it together. Sophia, or whatever her real name was, had probably cased my house during our tour. Saw the spots where I tucked away valuables. Saw how easy it would be to sneak in. She probably unlocked the guest room window when I wasn't looking. And while I was passed out, she, or her partner, came back for the score. The worst part? I hadn't even thought to set my security system that night. Kingsland is the kind of place where you still leave your doors unlocked sometimes. I had gotten lazy, complacent, and she knew it. I spent weeks after that feeling like an idiot, double-checking every window, jumping at every creak in the house. I couldn't even look at dating apps without feeling my stomach twist. I kept thinking about how easily it could have been worse. What if I had woken up earlier? What if I had walked into the kitchen while she was still there? What if she hadn't come alone? The questions haunted me more than the break-in itself. Eventually, I got a better security system. Cameras, motion lights, the whole works. I made my house a fortress because I had to. And yeah, I deleted Hinge. Maybe forever. I'm not saying dating apps are evil. I know plenty of people who found real love online. But me? I'll take my chances meeting someone the old-fashioned way. Through a friend. At the grocery store. Anywhere but behind a carefully curated profile that can vanish like smoke the second they get what they want. Back when I was around 24, I picked up a job scooping ice cream at this tiny mom-and-pop shop in Helena, Arkansas. It was the kind of town where time felt like it moved half-speed. Super chill gig, honestly. The owners were this sweet older couple who treated us more like grandkids than employees, and the customers were mostly locals who tipped in crumpled dollar bills and loose change. That's where I met one of my closest friends ever, Maddie. Maddie was 22, just a couple years younger than me, and honestly, she felt like the little sister I never had. She had this infectious laugh that could crack even the grumpiest customer, and she rocked this platinum blonde bob that made her look like she belonged in an indie music video. We always tried to line up our shifts together, snagging the evening slots. Day shifts were a bloodbath with the summer tourists, but nights? Nights were ours. Most evenings, we'd hang out behind the counter between rushes, swapping stories about life, bad Tinder dates, and whatever weirdness was happening in town. At the time, I was happily locked in a long-term relationship, so dating apps were a total mystery to me. But Maddie? She lived in the trenches of Tinder. Every shift, it felt like she had a new story to tell. She'd pull out her phone between customers, and we'd cackle over the insane pickup lines dudes would send her. Stuff like, "Are you a magician? Because every time I look at you, everyone else disappears." Real original, right? One night, we were squeezed behind the counter, half-heartedly wiping down already clean surfaces, when she showed me a new guy she had matched with. His name was Aaron, supposedly 29. He had this whole artsy vibe going, long dark hair pulled into a messy bun, neatly trimmed beard, round glasses that gave him this, I read obscure poetry look. Honestly, the guy looked like he had stepped out of a moody indie film. My gut reaction? Catfish alert. But Maddie was glowing. Giddy. I didn't want to kill her excitement. So I kept my cynical mouth shut and just smiled, telling her to have fun. She said they were planning to meet up the next evening. I gave her a dramatic wink and wished her luck as we closed up the shop. The next night, around 10:30 p.m., I shot her a quick text just to see how the date had gone. No answer. I figured, hey, maybe things were going well. I mean, if she was still out with him, that was a good sign, right? I crashed early, thinking I'd hear all about it the next day during our shift. We were supposed to work together the next evening. I clocked in, tied my apron, and started wiping down the counters, waiting for her to breeze through the door with some wild story. But Maddie never showed. Totally not like her. She was the 10 minutes early kind of person, organized in a way that made my chaotic self jealous. After 15 minutes, I tried calling her. Straight to voicemail. Texts? Left on read. I told myself maybe her phone had died. Maybe she was running late. But after half an hour of pacing behind the counter, that sick feeling started gnawing at my stomach. Something was wrong. Really wrong. I called the police. Turns out, Maddie's mom had already reported her missing earlier that day. She never made it home after her date. I remember this cold wave crashing over me when the officer told me that. The rest of the shift was a blur. I barely remember scooping ice cream, barely remember smiling at customers. All I could think about was Maddie. Where was she? Was she scared? Was she hurt? Days dragged into weeks. No news. No sightings. Nothing. I showed up to work, but everything felt hollow without her. I kept texting her phone like an idiot, even though I knew she wasn't going to answer. I stayed in touch with her mom, who somehow stayed stronger than I could have ever been. But the helplessness was eating me alive. The cops seemed stuck, spinning their wheels. 2 weeks slipped by. Then 3. Still no arrests. No solid leads. It was like she had just vanished. I couldn't take it anymore. I needed to do something. Anything. So I came up with a plan. A reckless, maybe even dangerous plan. I made myself a Tinder account. I picked a few decent pictures, the ones where the lighting did all the heavy lifting, and slapped together a profile. I wasn't looking for Mr. Right. I was hunting for Aaron. I swiped like a madwoman. Left, left, left. My thumb cramped up from scrolling. But then finally there he was. Same face. Same artsy look. Only now he was calling himself Mason. Cute. Real original. My hands were shaking as I swiped right. We matched immediately. He even sent the first message. My stomach twisted into knots. But I replied, throwing out a ridiculously flirty message that made me want to crawl out of my own skin. Desperate times, right? He bought it. Hook, line, and sinker. We chatted for a bit, him dropping the same artsy lines Maddie had laughed about. Then he suggested grabbing drinks. I said yes before my brain could second-guess me. The next night, we met at this grimy little dive bar tucked on the edge of Helena. The kind of place with sticky floors and neon signs buzzing like angry bees. I spotted him immediately, tucked away in a corner booth, nursing a drink. He looked exactly like his photos, which somehow made it all more chilling. I plastered on the fakest smile you've ever seen and sat down across from him. We talked for maybe an hour. It felt like forever. Every second was a battle to keep my face neutral. I wanted to scream at him. I wanted to grab him by the collar and demand to know what he had done to Maddie. But I knew if I spooked him, I'd lose whatever slim chance I had at getting answers. At one point, Mason leaned in and asked if I wanted to come back to his place. I forced a laugh and mumbled something about an early shift the next morning. Then I bolted. The second I hit the street, I called 911, hands shaking so hard I almost dropped the phone. I got patched through to the detective handling Maddie's case. Told them everything, the fake name, the Tinder match, the creepy date. I expected them to brush me off. But to my relief, they took it seriously. I handed over screenshots, chat logs, everything. A week later, they arrested him. Real name? Not Mason. Not Aaron. Some other alias he had used before. He confessed. Said it was an accident. That he didn't mean for it to happen. But he still led them to where he left Maddie. Life moved on around me after that. Somehow. I still worked at the ice cream shop for a while. Still wiped down counters. Still scooped cones for laughing kids. But there was a heavy piece missing that nothing could replace. Finding out the truth helped, in a way. At least we weren't left wondering. At least Maddie's mom could lay her to rest. But some nights, when the shop gets quiet and the summer heat buzzes in through the open windows, I still expect to hear Maddie's laugh behind me. Still half-turn, expecting to see her twirling a scoop in the air like she used to, daring me to catch it. I never do. Back in 2015, when I was about 29, I got a random friend request on Facebook from a dude named Tyler. He seemed harmless enough, average-looking, a few mutuals, no big red flags. We started chatting, and after a couple of days, he asked if I wanted to grab coffee sometime. I figured why not? It was just coffee. We ended up going out twice. And honestly, it felt good. Tyler was easy to talk to, funny in that slightly self-deprecating way that made you feel like you could relax around him. I thought we clicked. Then came the plan for our third date. We picked this cute little cafe downtown in Crossett, Arkansas, the kind of place with fairy lights strung up outside and way too expensive lattes. I got there early, snagged a table by the window and waited. And waited. And waited. 2 hours later, I finally accepted the obvious. Tyler had ghosted me. No call. No text. Nothing. I sat there pretending to read the same page of a book over and over, my coffee long cold. It stung, not going to lie. But whatever. I told myself it was just another dating app casualty. Move on. Except Tyler didn't stay gone. Almost 3 months after he ghosted me, he started popping up again. Unblocking me on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. Sending casual, hey, you messages like nothing had happened. I guess part of me was lonely. Curious. Maybe just bored. So like an idiot, I let him back in. But I was cautious this time. At least, I thought I was. Spoiler, I wasn't cautious enough. Turns out, Tyler had been dating a bunch of other girls the whole time we were talking. When I found out, that was it for me. I dumped him right then and there. Figured he could have his little side chicks. I wasn't about to be anyone's backup plan. I thought that was the end of it. It wasn't. About 5 months of blissful silence passed. Then, December 2017 rolled around, and my phone started blowing up. At first, it was just a few texts. Then a few calls. Then it escalated. Tyler started calling me 80+ times a day across every platform you can imagine. Regular calls, WhatsApp, DMs, you name it. Hundreds of texts. Most of them alternating between desperate apologies and furious rants. I wish I were exaggerating. At one point, he even started calling my new boyfriend. And my boss. Over and over. I had just started working at a marketing firm in Crossett in early 2018. One afternoon, I got pulled into a meeting with HR and the company's risk management team. They sat me down, slid a thick folder across the table, and told me flat out, "You need to get a lawyer. We're pressing charges against Tyler for harassment and stalking." Not exactly the Tuesday chat I was expecting. I felt like the walls were closing in. Embarrassed, angry, terrified, but mostly exhausted. I was so tired of looking over my shoulder, flinching every time my phone buzzed. In Arkansas, harassment tied to a protection order is a criminal offense. You can get slapped with a hefty fine, or even up to 5 years behind bars. So, I started gathering everything. Screenshots, voicemails, call logs, social media messages. My lawyer stacked them together like a house of cards. Meanwhile, my company handed over all their internal security footage. The times Tyler had followed me to work, loitered near the parking lot, stared into the lobby through the glass doors like a ghost waiting to be let inside. And then karma, sweet perfect karma, showed up. In April 2018, Tyler got himself arrested. Not because of me, not directly. He got pulled over for speeding, and when the cops searched his car, they found cocaine and meth stashed in the glove compartment. Real genius, right? The harassment charges from my case just added fuel to the fire. Fast forward to Christmas that year. I'm sitting at my parents' house, sipping cocoa by the fire, when my lawyer calls. Tyler got sentenced. 15 years for drug possession. Another 5 for stalking and harassment. 20 years total. When I hung up the phone, I cried. Not because I was sad. Not because I pitied him. But because for the first time in what felt like forever, I could breathe. Really breathe. You always think you'll see it coming. That crazy will wear a flashing neon sign. But the truth is, it never does. Tyler didn't have wild eyes or a creepy grin. He looked normal. Sounded normal. Until he wasn't. And by the time the mask slips, you're already tangled up in something so dark you can barely find your way out. I know it sounds dramatic. But even now, years later, I double-check my locks every night. I memorize license plates parked near my building. I never post my location in real time on social media. Once you've been hunted, even by someone who claims they loved you, it rewires your brain. It stains you. You don't ever fully go back to who you were before. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe caution is just survival dressed up in a smarter outfit. Either way, I'm still here. Still living. Still breathing. And Tyler? Well, Tyler's got 20 long years to think about what he did. Enjoy prison, buddy. And for real, don't drop the soap. When I look back now, it feels like I'm peering down a dark, endless tunnel. I can barely recognize the girl I used to be. I guess that's what trauma does. It warps your memories until even the good parts seem sinister. I was 20 years old, naive as hell, and way too trusting when I met Jason at the tiny community college in Baxter Springs, Kansas. Back then, I was dragging around the battered remains of a bad relationship, the kind that leaves invisible bruises nobody else can see. Jason seemed like a fresh start. At first, he was a dream. He'd help me carry my textbooks across the cracked sidewalks of our tiny campus, send good morning texts before I even opened my eyes, and slip little notes into my backpack. Dumb, cheesy stuff like "you're beautiful" or "can't wait to see you smile today." I ate it up like a starving dog. After the wreckage of my last relationship, Jason felt like a Disney prince. We started dating within 2 weeks of meeting. I know. Stupid fast. One night, he even pulled out this cheap silver ring from his pocket, not even in a box, and slipped it onto my finger under the flickering lights of the parking lot. He grinned like it was the most romantic thing in the world. I thought, this is it. This is how it happens, right? You meet someone, and it just clicks. Soulmates. Spoiler alert, it wasn't soulmates. It was a slow-motion freefall into hell. The cracks started small. Jason would tell me how much he loved when I wore one particular blue sweater. At first, it felt sweet, like he actually noticed me. But then it turned into comments like, "You should only wear things like that," followed by a subtle side eye if I reached for anything else in my closet. He started pushing greasy fast food every night, even though I had been trying to eat healthier. It wasn't just occasional treats, it was constant. Burgers, fries, milkshakes. I protested once, saying I just wanted a grilled chicken salad, and he pouted like a child until I gave in. It was easier to let him have his way than to deal with the silent treatment that followed. And my friends? Yeah, they started disappearing too. Jason would make these passive-aggressive comments like, "They don't get our love," or "They're jealous of what we have." It got to the point where I stopped answering their texts because it just wasn't worth the fights that would erupt afterward. The first real, oh no moment happened about 3 months in. I was buried in a huge take-home exam for my anatomy class. Headphones in, notes spread out across my tiny dorm room. Jason burst in without knocking, demanding I come with him to some political club meeting he was obsessed with. I told him no, gently at first, then more firmly. Without warning, he stormed over and slammed my laptop shut, right on my fingers. The pain shot up my arm like a jolt of electricity. I just sat there, stunned, staring at him. He didn't even apologize. Just stood there, towering over me, and said, "If you loved me, you'd support me." I should have left right then, but I didn't. I went with him, hand throbbing, heart screaming. Once Jason realized he could get away with hurting me, he stopped pretending altogether. If he wanted sex, we had sex, whether I was in the mood or not. If he craved midnight fast food, I was eating fries whether I was hungry or sick to my stomach. If he decided a certain outfit made me perfect, then that outfit became my uniform, day in and day out. It didn't matter what I wanted. It only mattered what Jason wanted. One night, after a brutal shift bussing tables at this dingy seafood shack on the edge of town, I came home exhausted and starving. I begged, Jason to pick up something healthy on his way over. Just grilled chicken and steamed veggies. Anything that wasn't dipped in grease. He showed up grinning, arms full of McDonald's bags. Before I could even say anything, my manager, a nosy but well-meaning guy, joked, "What, trying to fatten her up so no one else wants her?" Jason laughed. Exactly. It was a joke to him, just a throwaway comment. But it lodged itself deep inside me like a splinter. That night, something inside me cracked. That was the moment my binge eating disorder really rooted itself. Even now, years later, it's a battle I fight every damn day. Fast forward 3 miserable years. I finally grew a backbone and told Jason I wanted out. I thought, stupidly, that it would be ugly but manageable. I was so wrong. When Jason came over to grab the last of his stuff from my tiny apartment, he lost it. He tried to strangle me right there in the hallway, hands clamped around my throat, like he was trying to snuff me out like a candle. I remember my brain going completely blank with terror. And like the trauma-bonded mess I was, I took him back a week later. After that, everything got darker. It was like that one act of violence broke something inside him, or maybe it shattered the last piece of humanity he was clinging to. From then on, if I said no to sex, to anything, he didn't hesitate. He hit me. Not punches, at least not at first. Slaps. Shoves. Anything to remind me that my body wasn't mine anymore. After a while, I learned it was easier to just go limp and let it happen. I stopped feeling like a person altogether. I became furniture, an object he could use, move, shove into the closet when I displeased him. And yes, he literally shoved me into the coat closet sometimes. The light switch was on the outside. He'd lock me in there, laughing from the living room while I sat in the dark, hyperventilating, trying not to cry too loudly. I'm still terrified of the dark to this day. It sounds childish, I know, but trauma rewires your brain in ways you can't just logic away. Jason had a plan for me. He wanted me fat, terrified, and invisible. He wanted me so broken that no other man would even glance in my direction. If a cashier smiled at me, punishment. If a girl in class said hi, punishment. The final straw, the moment that finally shattered whatever sick loyalty I had left, happened one night when he got me drunk. Way too drunk. And then he did something that had always been a hard limit for me. Even during the worst times, he had respected that boundary. But not that night. He tied me up, gagged me, and when I realized what was happening, all I could do was sob. I still get flashes of that night if something triggers me. It messes me up worse than anything else ever did. Thankfully, and I will be forever grateful for this, my best friend, Emily, basically kicked down the door to my life and dragged me out. We moved my stuff out while Jason was at work. I blocked his number, changed my locks, disappeared. I never went to the cops. Part of me still believed no one would care. Jason had spent years convincing me I was worthless. That if I screamed for help, people would just laugh. It's been a few years now. I'm in therapy for my anxiety, depression, and PTSD. I volunteer at a local shelter now, talking to other women who've lived through nightmares like mine. It's slow. Healing always is. But for the first time in a long time, I feel like me again. Like I'm growing, not just surviving. If you're reading this and you're stuck in something even remotely like what I went through, please listen. You are worth saving. It's terrifying. It's messy. It's not easy. But you are not alone. And you are so much stronger than you think.